Hey friends, inventory management can be a major pain. Keeping track of all your ingredients, your inventory across warehouses and co-mans, your retail and e-com orders, and tying all of that together. When your Excel spreadsheet breaks, check out our friends at Sin7 Core, our inventory management software partner. You can track everything you make and sell, and as the leading tool for early CPG brands, it integrates with all the major software like QuickBooks, Shopify, Amazon, and whatever your warehouse and co-mans are using. Through Startup CPG, you get a free month trial and then 50% off the 3 months after that. To get started, check out sin7.com/startupcpg. That's Sin, C-I-N, like the first 3 letters in Cincinnati, and the number 7. So sin7.com/startupcpg.
So Peter and I intentionally wanted a product that we both could use, right? There's this notion out there that gender-specific products exist for a purpose and it's needed. And I just kind of want to dispel that a little bit. Our skin biology is not fundamentally different. We all possess similar skin structures and functions.
Hello and welcome to the Startup CPG Podcast. My name is Grace and we are here with another Founder Friday bonus episode. I am so excited to be joined also by Patty, our head of community at Startup CPG and also incredible, beautiful beauty aficionado. If you haven't seen photos from her wedding on Instagram, get over there ASAP. And today we are both interviewing the founders of Protéger, Peter and JoLynn, and I will let them introduce themselves. So JoLynn, if you could please introduce yourself and then we'll go to you, Peter.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us. My name is JoLynn Henke, co-founder at Protéger. I am dialed in from Philadelphia right now. I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you for having me. My name is Peter Clarkson, also co-founder of Protéger, and I am dialing in from Soho, New York City right now. So I apologize if there's background noise at any point, but we'll do my best to keep that under control.
We love it. That's life. And I have to admit, too, that I'm selfishly obsessed with Protéger because JoLynn is from Philadelphia and I, too, am from Philadelphia. So they do have an amazing product, but also, you know, you got to represent your home.
That's right. You got the West Coast, the West Side, I got the East Side going.
Exactly. So just to start us off, I'd love for you guys to tell us a little bit about how Protéger came to be, you know, a little bit about how you two know each other and why you decided to start this brand together. And yeah, the origin story of Protéger.
That sounds great. So Protéger is an eco-luxury skincare brand focused on full body skin health. So we go beyond neck up skincare by delivering results from head to toe. All of our products are botanically derived, vegan, cruelty-free, EU compliant, non-GMO, all the good stuff. But we also have our products formulated at an certified lab, which is the highest echelon for certification in organic cosmetics. The name Protéger actually has an R at the end of it. So we get a lot of Protéger, but teach their own. We pronounce it Protéger, or in French it's Protéger. And it's the infinitive meaning to protect. And this applies to our skin as well as the planet and those we love. And that ties nicely into our origin story. So several years ago, my mom was diagnosed with ALS, which is also called Lou Gehrig's disease. This is what the Ice Bucket Challenge was all about. It's a neurodegenerative disease that progressively paralyzes the muscles in your body. So it impacts your ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And let me tell you, it is just as horrific as it sounds. It's also a death sentence, and there is no cure. So when my mom was diagnosed with this a few years ago, my lens on the world completely changed. It felt like everything outside of my mom was just blurry. And at that time, I was working as a healthcare consultant. We had recently been acquired, and it was a really demanding job. And at that time, I just felt like it was to get this diagnosis for my mom. For me, it was such a seismic shift in my personal life that it made sense for me to let it also impact my professional priorities. And so I quit. I resigned from my job, and it really was the right decision for me. And at that time, I was just in search of what brought me joy amid anticipatory grief. And that ultimately was to focus on my mom and to care for her in ways that she always cared for me. So one way I was able to do that was to help bathe her and help with her personal care rituals. So I had the honor of washing her hair and cleansing her body and nourishing her skin. And my mom would call this time together spa days, which was absolutely a euphemism. But I love it because it shows how positive of a person she was, and also the power there is in reframing hard situations. So that time together, bathing her, taking care of her, it was so intimate and so sacred. It connected me to my own body and my own skin. And because it was so transformational, it actually like redefined how I saw personal care. So I realized that I knew I wanted to, from that point on, appreciate the autonomy that I have in taking care of myself. And I no longer see taking care of myself as something I have to do. It's something I get to do. It's now seen as a privilege. Now, Peter comes into the story because he's a very close family friend. He was actually my brother's random roommate in college. So we met, gosh, in an elevator like 20 years ago at this point. 20 years ago. So he had a direct impact on the time that my mom and I spent together. So I'll let him tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as JoLynn touched on, I'm a close family friend, and I had a really lovely relationship with her mother. We were actually pen pals, which I kind of think is a lost art at this point. But she was a beekeeper and biodynamic gardener, and she would share with me, honeycomb and honey from her bees, and just other just lovely little things that were so symbolic of who she was. And I was then sending her in my pen pal exchanges my favorite non-toxic skincare, just as something that I thought might kind of lighten the mood and the situation. And funny enough, JoLynn's brother messaged me at one point and was like, "Hey, it's so nice that you're still writing with my mom, but like, hold off on sending gifts because she's a popular woman and we're getting a lot of gifts and we're not really sure what to do with all of them." So I was like, totally understood. I'll just go back to the letters. And then cut to a couple of weeks later, I get a Facebook message with JoLynn, because I don't know if we just didn't have each other's phone numbers at that point or what. Just after college life went different ways. And she was like, "Hey, I don't know if it's my place to ask this or not, but would you be willing to continue sending those skincare products? They were like a real highlight for my mom, and my mom really loved them." So one thing really led to another, and my contribution to Spa Day was providing the products that I knew would meet her mother's standards. She's always been about that organic life, that clean life, before it was ever trendy, before Gwyneth Paltrow entered the picture or anything like that. She was giving us in college organic body wash and stuff in 2004. So she's ahead of the curve.
That's right. And ultimately what I realized in all the products that we had together, which were so amazing to use, there was just a lot of them. There was a lot of things that were required to help my mom. And ultimately, what would have been the ideal product would be something that could be applied from head to toe, something that was fast absorbing, breathable in the humid Florida heat, and also non-greasy, so we could put her clothes on right afterwards. And so, talking to Peter about this, and he was explaining to me that that's actually something that he was looking for working as a model. So I'll let him speak a little bit more to that.
I was finding that I was having tremendous results using a vitamin C serum, a hyaluronic serum, and also a caffeine serum. But they were 3 separate items sold in 1-ounce bottles. And I was having great results from kind of the chest up. And I kept thinking to myself, God, I just wish I could slather my whole body in this. How amazing would that be? But then, they're each sold at 1 ounce for anywhere between $80 and $300. That wasn't necessarily feasible. So again, in going back and forth with JoLynn and talking about the skincare products that would be great for her mom, one thing definitely led to another, and we decided to kind of go all in on what is now our flagship product, dermal serum, and flip the notion that serums be sold in a 1 ounce bottle and used only from the neck up, and instead put them in a 7 ounce bottle with a lotion pump so you could really get those benefits on the entire dermis.
That's right. So we knew that there's a better way to do skincare, right? We could focus on full body skin health, but also that there could be one product that could help address the concerns of, a early 70-year-old woman who's exiting the world, also a mid 30s-year-old man like thriving as a model. There's two very disparate circumstances, but there was one product that met both of their needs. And so ultimately, that's kind of why Protéger was born. It was to harness the power of versatility. And in doing so, we set out to create fewer products that do more.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that story. And it's so beautiful to me. And that's even the second time I've heard it. And I still am so moved by it every time. And I love your collaboration on this. And sort of speaking to that disparate people that this product is for, is how do you guys message about the different ways that Protéger can be used, and for these very different groups, right? Because you want men to use it, you want women to use it, kids, grandmas, everybody in between. So how do you guys work to get that message across that this really is for everybody?
Yeah, I think that social media is definitely our most powerful tool now, as well as just like email marketing. And because our use cases are truly these disparate needs, these people in various ages and stages of life, our content is also reflective of that. So we have, women in their 60s that are giving testimonial, and then we have my male model contemporaries that are doing the same, and female models, and just really people from all walks of life. And we, against a lot of advice, because we were given a lot of advice early on, like you have to choose a niche, you just have to like really lean into one, it's going to be confusing for people. We really went against that because we wanted to do something different, and we really wanted to show the versatility. So I mean, our first campaign was using, we shot in Puerto Rico, and we used young models of different sizes that were local to Puerto Rico for that campaign. And then our second campaign, we used a model who was in her mid 40s, and will continue throughout our campaigns to, send the messaging that it can be used by all races, genders, and ages and stages.
Yeah, and I know my mom even is always asking me for skincare products, because she's like, I don't know what to use. Like when I grew up, this wasn't such a big thing, but the skincare on the market isn't marketed to older women. It's very much marketed to my generation, our generation here. So I love that sort of representation of all the different ages and stages. But Patty, I'm wondering if you have any questions around marketing, because as I said, you are our marketing guru here at Startup CPG.
Yeah, I just actually want to add a few things before I ask any marketing question, because you mentioned my wedding. So a month before my wedding, my makeup artist, he was like, I don't want you to use any retinol on your skin, because like retinols kind of inflame your skin. It's like a very kind of, I don't want to say aggressive, but kind of aggressive ingredient for your skin. And he was like, use anything just high, because I use retinol at night, and he was like, just use something that's going to be very hydrating. And because my wedding was in another country, I was like, and of course I want my body to be hydrated too. I was like, I want to get a product that I don't need to bring tons of different products in my luggage. So I actually brought this with me, the derma serum, and I was using like every night and on my body as well. And there was like, my skin just feels so great. I just want to share that.
Oh, amazing.
Um,
Thank you.
and also I think for men, it's very good, because my husband, he's just like, I try to get him to do more skincare, which is he's getting better at it, but it's just like when I lay all these products in front of him, he does like one product, he's like, I'm done. It's too many. So um, I like how this facilitates to, especially for men, because I don't think they have the patience as women have to have this moment for taking care of ourselves. So those are just my 2 cents that I really want to share because I really love how it feels. At first, I thought it was a little sticky, but it dries out very like fast. Um, so yeah, I'm loving the product. I just want to share that. But going back to the marketing questions, I noticed that you guys have some UGC content, and I think a lot of brands, especially emerging brands, they have some hard time sometimes trying to find UGC also because like budget related, like creators want to get paid too, but it seems like that you guys are doing a great job on that. So I'd love to learn more. How are you guys doing that, and how is the process looking like, and the results that you guys are having so far?
Yeah, well, we definitely understand that pain point. And you can never have enough UGC, it turns out, in this industry. So we actually, even though we are very lucky, in particular my network, because I'm a dinosaur in model years and I've been in this industry for a really long time. I have a lot of friends who are really either comfortable on camera or taking photos or creating content. So we have a lot of people that are like true evangelists that have met the product either through JoLynn or I that are willing to create product for us on a pretty tight budget, which we're really grateful for. But like I said, you can never have too much. So there have been times where we have endeavored into trying to have like random services and things connect us to UGC creators, and we've sent it to hundreds of people that we're not really personally connected with. And I don't know how to answer this without sounding like a bit of a hater, but if the people really aren't truly connected to your product or you as a founder, your UGC is going to be really, really underwhelming. So my advice would be if you're not connected to a bunch of UGC creators or models or the like, start networking and going to places where you can meet some of these creators and getting to know them and like really solidifying a relationship with them and really educating them on your product. Because it's just going to be a little bit soulless otherwise. At least that's what we've found.
Well, we learned that the hard way, right? We gift it to people sometimes with very little ask in return, and the flat lays are great of the product and whatnot, but we've realized that that's not necessarily where the conversions happen. So one initiative that we had was to seek out the Protéger evangelists, those that love our product through and through, the ones that have been a repeat purchasers, the ones that have left reviews. We reached out to them directly and we asked for a video testimonial, and in return, we'd give them a free bottle of dermal serum, which is retail price at $115. And, I would say you give them a little direction. That's kind of helpful, vertical orientation of your phone. We are working across the age spectrum. So some people were doing it from their computers. But we asked them to record themselves talking about the product. And ultimately, I feel like that is where real voices come through. There's something genuine when you have the personal experience to speak to the product, and I think it speaks to Peter and me, like we're promoting, we're amplifying the voices of people who really adore our brand, and so that feels much better than paying someone to talk maybe inauthentically about something that they've never experienced.
We'll be right back. Did you know that Startup CPG has an official in-store demo partner? I'm really excited to announce our partnership with Grassroots Marketing. They are awesome for early brands. They have no minimum number of demos, they've got national coverage, and you get full reporting analytics. They work with the big guys like Whole Foods and Sprouts, but also the tastemakers like Central Market, Mother's Market, and they're actually the official demo partner for Erewhon. For the Startup CPG community, there's an introductory rate of $180 for a 3-hour demo for the first 3 months. That'll help you get started, and then their rate goes up to $200. Again, there's no minimum number of demos. That is a huge differentiator because some other agencies I've talked to want you to do an enormous number of demos for each store that you try, and a total number of demos that can just be way out of your budget range. It's really hard to find a good demo partner when you're a growing brand. Grassroots is a great one. If you'd like to chat with their team, email hello@grassrootsdemos.com and ask for the Startup CPG community discount, or connect with Bridget or David on our Slack channel or LinkedIn. And now, back to the show.
Yeah, I love how you guys use customers, like real customers, because at the end of the day, those are the people that it's going to be very easy for them to talk about your product, how it helped them in such a genuine way. And also, I love to see like real people talking. I mean, I'm a creator myself, so I'm not like against creators, of course. But if I'm scrolling social media and there are some products out there which I see sometimes like just you can see that the video is not as sometimes sharp as a content creator, but it's still the message is so good. Like those videos people can relate a lot to. And I think having a balance between the two is just so smart. And I love how you reach out to them and they are also willing to help you guys out.
You're absolutely right. And we aim to do that even with our campaigns where like there's creators and then there's like real people, like you said. And we kind of have a formula where as we roll out new products and introduce new campaigns to people, we'll kind of go from using like real people models and then somebody who like Karen Elson, who was our last campaign model, who's a massive supermodel, but she represents a lot of what the brand means to us. She's a mother, she's an animal lover, she's in her mid 40s and still absolutely crushing it. So, so our next campaign will likely be, a more diverse group that is more relatable to the masses. And I think it's important that there be aspirational, relatable, some mix of the two.
Yeah, and it speaks to probably your experience in the modeling industry, Peter, but I do the photography on all of your campaigns that I've seen on your website and Instagram is so beautiful. And, it has that kind of spirited effect where it feels like it's more than just a beauty brand. You really can feel like an energy and a personality behind your campaigns, which I really love. It's not just this like blank slate of use this product. So just want to commend you guys for that. The other aspect of your marketing that I wanted to talk about that JoLynn has mentioned to me in the past is some of the different avenues you guys have sort of approached in terms of getting Protéger into people's hands, because your dermal serum can be used on your whole body. So I'd love for you to speak to that, JoLynn, some of the different ways the different channels, I guess, you are using that maybe aren't the traditional beauty channels that someone would think of.
Yes. So we knew in the beginning we were creating a versatile product. I don't think we understood truly how many different use cases would come back from that. So we had people who were getting manicures and they'd bring their little weekender and they'd want to, instead of having like a greasy oil applied after their manicures were done, they wanted dermal serum because once again, it's not greasy and fast absorbing. And then we were thinking, well, how can that translate into retail spaces? Obviously, we can focus on nail salons, but what other products are sold where you're looking at your hands often? And that's when we started talking about jewelers and people who are selling more expensive jewelry. There is a way to, our product is deeply hydrating, so it enhances the appearance of your hands pretty immediately. And then when you put on a beautiful ring, in addition to that, that's going to benefit the customer as well as the jeweler, and potentially a sale. So we just wanted to kind of branch out from the incredibly competitive and saturated space of skincare and try to think a little bit more, I guess, differently about how we can stand out in such a crowded space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've personally been using your dermal serum mostly on my chest, actually, because when I was a teen, I had, chest acne. So I still have some scars and I've been using it on my chest. And I've never done that before. I've always just kind of been like, oh, I just have to accept that I'm going to have some scars on my chest. But now I get to use this product to actually do something for that, which I just never thought I could. So I do love, and that I'm sure is very helpful in your marketing to say there are so many different ways.
We need to get her the Get Even booster before.
I was just going to say, what we got you. Yeah, we got your next product. Yes. No, it's true. I mean, I only touched on hands primarily, but there are so many different use cases. There's expectant moms who use it on their baby bump to help soothe their itchy, expanding skin, uh, and also help with stretch marks. We have heard from surfers that it is incredible at alleviating sunburn because the foundational ingredient is organic aloe leaf juice. We've had people say that when applying sunless tanning drops, they typically have to use a vehicle for their face and a different one for their body. But with dermal serum, you can apply it all in one fell swoop. We have tattoo enthusiasts who apply it to their tattoos and say it preserves the vibrancy of their ink. I I have an interesting one. I had a stripper tell me that she uses it before going on the pole because it actually isn't greasy, so it's much safer of a product to use for strippers. And these are use cases, once again, like we would never think of these situations, and it's so nice to get this feedback and see just how many different
Not
yeah.
true. I actually wanted us to do this product with strippers in mind.
Oh yes, that's right. From the get-go, you're right.
And how are you guys getting this feedback from customers? Like, how are you hearing this?
So primarily, I would say we do have an automated email that gets sent out post-purchase for them to review. But I would say the most fascinating reviews come unsolicitedly. They are people who typically buy it from a retailer and then DM us. So we don't prompt them at all, and they DM us the positive feedback that they're experiencing after using the product for probably like 1 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, that actually brings up another question I had, and this is a question from our founder Daniel, who's a man, and he gets sent a lot of samples of beauty products, and his question was, how long do I have to use a product for to know if it's working? And also he was like, how do I know if it's working? So could you guys speak to that?
I guess from the male perspective, I'll speak on that one. So I think that this is kind of a multi-pronged answer, right? Like, how do I know when it's working? It kind of depends upon what you're treating. Like, if you have super dry skin and then you apply something like dermal serum to it that's deeply hydrating, it's going to start working basically instantly. You're going to feel some relief. You're going to see your skin is a little bit more supple. But then if you're trying to treat something that's a little bit more stubborn, say it's hyperpigmentation from sun damage on your cheekbones, like a lot of us get as we age into adulthood, something like that, the vitamin C in dermal serum is going to address, but that's a little bit more of a long game play. Like, you might start to notice results in about 4 to 6 weeks. And the best way to track that, and for him to know, which is an extra step, unfortunately, but it really, really, really shows. We get mad at ourselves all the time as founders that we're not more religious about taking before and afters, but take before and afters in the exact same lighting, like, in the same bathroom that you apply it every single day, or in front of the same window at the same time every day, or whatever the case may be, so you sort of have some control. And he'll be amazed at the difference in his skin from week 1 to week 6. So again, it's a multi-pronged answer, but hopefully that addresses it.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was just going to chime in a little bit on the unisex nature of our product, if that's okay. So Peter and I intentionally wanted a product that we both could use, right? And I think there's this notion out there that gender-specific products exist for a purpose and it's needed. And I just kind of want to dispel that a little bit. Our skin biology is not fundamentally different. We all possess similar skin structures and functions. And one example of this is if you go to the beach with your friends, you probably all put on the same sunscreen. And of course, there are differences between men and women, of course, when it comes to their skin, but those primarily stem from hormonal differences. And so that can be addressed through ingredients, like targeted ingredients versus gender specific formulations. And I mean, in full transparency, I'm of the belief that gendered products is just a marketing ploy, specifically in skincare. I can't speak generally, but when it comes to skincare, by gendering it, they can use specific language and visuals and colors and different selling points. Like for men, like something that's like one in all, simple to apply, that might not resonate as much with women who are willing to put in the time and effort, more so than men, generally speaking. But so they have different selling points and different fragrances as well. And all of those things that I just mentioned, none of them have to do with the actual performance of skincare. And so when Peter and I started this, like, we wanted to create something that was effective and inclusive, something that was designed for every body. And so the products that we developed were founded in scientific evidence versus societal norms.
Absolutely. And just to make it more approachable, because I think everyone is so used to seeing their products so gendered, I think that you can probably both speak to the fact that our product is very gender neutral, like packaging wise, and we will never, ever, ever put any fragrances in any of our products, because even though that can be a really nice part of the experience, we realize that it's polaring. Like, JoLynn might love lavender. I don't want to smell like lavender, or whatever, whatever the case may be. So any scent or anything that anyone might pick up in dermal serum, that's just from the natural plant ingredients, and there is no added fragrance, essential oil, any of that.
Can you guys talk a little about going into retailers? I know it's a little different from going, like, if you are a food or beverage brand. So I think that's like, how did you guys find your first retailer, and what are some steps that you have to be able to be at a shelf?
Yeah, I feel like Figgy is probably the best example, right, Joe? So, yeah, so, we definitely have tried the arduous route of a lot of cold call emails, even cold call phone calls. For the most part, I have found that these retailers are like, no, before you can even get a word out, because they're saturated and they have a lot of product to move, and they just don't even have the bandwidth to think about a new product. So I think our first and best retailer is a clean beauty retailer called Figgy Co. And their first location is based in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is where all my family is. So I actually just walked in and had a conversation with her face to face. Her name is Jenny Crouch. She's wonderful. And told her all about the product and handed it to her and was like, test it and see what you think. And she's like, oh, I'm absolutely going to test this. Like, there's no way I'm putting anything on my shelf unless I stand behind it. She has since gone on to love and be an incredible mover of our products, and she's opened her second location in Sarasota. And what that taught us was, it's important to be persistent and keep emailing these places and DMing and doing all of the things to the point of being annoying. But if you can find a personal connection to whoever is buying or whoever owns the store, or better yet, figure out when they're going to be in that store and not send somebody else, but you yourself go in, that is the fastest avenue in. And I think now we're at 26 retailers?
And how long did it take her to give you a feedback? Because, sometimes skincare, you can say that take up to 3 months to really see the results. So how was the process for that?
She was about I think it was probably 3 weeks to a month. Like, she gave it a real true test, and she absolutely loved dermal serum, and now she carries the boosters. The boosters came out after we started partnering with her, and she does a great job selling those too. I mean, our ethos are really, really aligned. She's like, anything that's on her shelves has to be the cleanest of the clean. So yeah, probably 3 to 4 weeks, and she was blown away, and she really loved it. And she was funny. She was like, at first, because you were local and like we thought you were cute, we were thinking about just doing it anyway. But she was like, but the product is really, really, really nice. And she was like, the girl that was working at the store when you first came in was like, we should just carry his stuff. And she was like, that's not how that works.
Hey,
he's not just a pretty shit.
If it gets you into the store, but no. I think that's great advice too, just in the sense of like, if you want your product to move in the store, you also need the people in the store to be advocating for it. You can't just be expecting it to like sit there and have everybody walk up and say, I want this, right? You need the retailers to be on board, to be on your side, and to believe in the product too.
100%. That was great advice that I got from another beauty brand founder before JoLynn and I went into this. And she was like, one thing I'll tell you is, she was like, before she sold her brand, she was like, I felt like a rock star. I was on a countrywide tour, just like flying around and going to all of my different stores, like at least at least once a quarter, and I would get to know all the retail staff, and I would ask what their favorite coffee order was, and I was always like making it a point to connect with them, because that is the difference in your product getting on the shelves and actually moving from the shelves.
We'll be right back. Imagine this. You get accepted into a new regional chain. Hooray! Now, the race to drive velocity begins, but awareness plays are so expensive. Demos, displays, coupon programs, the list goes on. But what if there was a way to connect with millennial women, some of the most important shoppers out there, to actually go into the store, buy your product, and then post about it to their trusted friends and neighbors? Well, now there is. Meet Hummingbirds, the new platform that connects your brands with real shoppers in a specific city. Hummingbirds lets you set up your campaign, match with the local birds who are interested, and then track the social impact of the campaign. It's such a cool concept to hear about a product from someone from my own community that I know and trust, rather than some big-time influencer who might not even be relevant in certain zip codes. To learn more, check out hummingbirds.com/startupcpg, and you can even register for a chance to win a free custom managed program. Terms and conditions apply. Please visit the website for details. Good luck. And now, back to the show.
Sort of speaking to advice you guys received from people you spoke to when you were beginning Protéger and over these last few years that you've been running it, is there any piece of advice that you have found to be the most helpful, or even just the most helpful in this moment in time as you're at this point in your brand? I'd love for you to share some of that. And it could be beauty specific or just founder specific.
I have one quick one that is a little bit nuanced in its answer, but one of the things that we learned at a trade show early on was be really careful. Feedback is really important, but be really careful about who you're getting feedback from and in what stage in things you're getting feedback, because it can be the difference between a nugget of advice that you take all the way to the finish line and one that just totally throws you off where you are. And you could be like so sure of something and show it to somebody who doesn't necessarily understand it, and they'll kind of like poo-poo it, and then you're in your own head about like, do I believe in what I'm doing? Am I doing the right thing? So try your best to trust yourself, and also be careful about who you're seeking feedback from would be a big one for me.
I think that's really great advice, Peter, and I think a lot of brands will appreciate hearing that. So as we're wrapping up our call, I'd love to hear from you guys. What's been the most challenging moment since founding Protéger?
Yeah, there haven't really been a lot of challenging moments. It's been a breeze. No, which one? So I think like many, our biggest challenges are the ones that we didn't anticipate. So the one that comes to mind happened a little bit over a year ago, and we received a shipment from Canada of new inventory. And, we've done this before. We feel like we've got it down, and we open up the packages, and 25% of our inventory was damaged. And this is something that happened in transit after the bottles were filled. We changed our tertiary packaging, and it just didn't hold up. And it was unfortunate because the actual formula was pristine inside these bottles, but the glass bottles had scuffs and scrapes, and they were damaged. And the aesthetics didn't reflect the high quality formula inside. And so we had two options. We could toss the inventory, which would have been a huge blow financially, and also incredibly wasteful. Or we could think creatively about how we were going to solve this unforeseen and incredibly expensive problem on our hands. So I'll let Peter talk a little bit more about the solution.
Yeah, well, and on that subject too, I mean, in terms of getting advice, when we got the damaged inventory, there was a large amount of people that were like, move on, cut your losses, throw it out. And I think that is an older way of thinking for sure. We're like, we're a young, nimble brand. Like, there has to be something we can do. And we both have rescue dogs. And rescue dogs, much like our damaged inventory, they might come with some scuffs or a notch in their ear or a missing eye or whatever the case may be. But inside, they are that same lovable, incredible soul that, that lovely dog soul. And we came up with this idea of doing rescue bottles. So much like rescue dogs, our bottles hit some bumps in the road on their way home, but they're full of pure goodness inside. So what we did is sell the inventory that was damaged at 30% off, and then 20% of each purchase went to our partner in this, which is the Beagle Freedom Project. And the Beagle Freedom Project is specifically created to end laboratory testing in beagles, because they are the number one most used animal in cosmetic laboratory testing. This is going to break your heart, because they're notoriously gentle and forgiving. So they'll let you like torture them over and over and over. And it's a completely unnecessary and antiquated and outdated practice. But we are pleased to report that the Beagle Freedom Project continues to do incredible work. Number one of the beagles was recently adopted by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And number two, they just shut down a testing facility and saved over 200 lives, and have instead turned that testing facility into a sanctuary for the animals. So they've totally gutted it and turned the cages into like lovely little homes for them, and they're trying to find the forever homes for them. So it's nice to see that we've contributed to something that's like really out there doing the work. So shout out Beagle Freedom Project, and also again, be careful about who you take advice from, because we would have otherwise thrown out those bottles.
That's right. And I'm just going to tack on here that as of this month, we have sold every single rescue bottle that we received. So I would consider it overcoming an incredible obstacle. It feels really good to close out that chapter, and hopefully we'll find other ways to continue to home rescue pups.
Absolutely. And I'm sure we'll have no other challenges ahead of us either.
No, all smooth sailing from here. I absolutely love that. You guys are going to like make me cry at the end of our podcast talking about beagles, but I'll hold it together. So yes,
great.
It was so much fun to talk to you guys and learn about Protéger. And where can people buy Protéger, learn more about Protéger if they're interested?
The easiest way is to go to our website or social media. So it's Protéger Daily, PROTEGER, daily, DAILY.com. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter. We promise we do not spam you. So we love clean skincare as well as clean inboxes, and you'll receive amazing discounts as well as exciting updates.
And at Protéger Daily on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Amazing. I can't wait for everyone to discover Protéger Daily and all the things. Patty, do you have any last words?
No, it was just a pleasure to talk to you guys. As I said, I'm loving the product. I'm using every day, especially at night. I just feel that like it's my moment to like nourish my body too. It was very nice to have you guys here. As Grace said, I love like beauty products, so I'm trying really to advocate for the beauty products in our community and trying to do more things for us, as I already include myself as like a beauty founder, I guess. But yeah, I love your guys' story. I think I don't know how, JoLynn, you hold together when you're talking about the story with your mom. I would already want to cry, so I
cry during practice. Typically, don't worry.
I can imagine how you feel about it, and the whole team was touched by your story when Grace did the Founder Friday. So thank you guys for being here, and I can't wait to see your growth.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for taking us with you to your wedding.
Yeah,
of course.
It is. And you guys should check out the photos of her wedding because it was beautiful. But anyway, I thank y'all for listening, and let us know what you think.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast today, it would really help us out if you can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I am Daniel Scharf. I'm the host and founder of Startup CPG. Please feel free to reach out or add me on LinkedIn. If you're a potential sponsor that would like to appear on the podcast, please email partnerships@startupcpg.com. And reminder to all of you out there, we would love to have you join the community. You can sign up at our website, startupcpg.com, to learn about our webinars, events, and Slack channel. If you enjoyed today's music, you can check out my band. It's the Super Fantastics on Spotify Music. On behalf of the entire Startup CPG team, thank you so much for listening and your support. See you next time.